Hey there, it's Christian from Severn Gaming Network, and we're back with another Empire at War Tactica and card analysis. This time we're going to be doing a rogue character of the villain variety. He is very villainous, in fact he's very vicious. He's a vicious mercenary called Cad Bane. I think this character is causing quite a stir, but we're going to go through the reasons why, looking at his dice, looking at his health pool, his points cost, his ability, and maybe some cards we can play with him, decks we can put him in, and all that sort of thing. Now then, so let's have a look first of all at his die side. We've got a 2 and a 3 range damage, the 3 with the 1 resource cost. We've got a 2 discard with 1 resource cost there, and then we've got 1 shield and the 1 resource. So the first thing that strikes me about that die is there's a lot of big sides on it. 50% of them are 2 or more, and we've got the 3 as well. So that's quite a big die, a lot of big sides on there. Now of course 2 of them also cost 1 resource each. So this is one where we're going to have to be managing our resources quite well if we're going to get the most out of this die very clearly. And in light of assessing that die in relation to the points value, we see that 13 and 17 for a points value for dice that have that many big sides on it's intriguing, it's fascinating, and I think that what it feels like is that is a big dice for that kind of amount of points. Now, first things first, he's clearly a damage character. Those are the amount of damage sides that a Vader can put out, or Luke can put out. But again, we have to pay for this 3 for 1. That hugely impacts how you're going to build your deck when it comes to playing Cad, I think, if you're going to get the most out of him. Especially his other big impact side, apart from his 2 range, is that 2 discard. And of course 2 discard can be devastating in the right moments. Now his shield is fine. What I find interesting about the shield is that with 12 health, he's got a lot of health. For a character who's 13-17 with big dice, to also have a shield on there as well and be able to potentially give himself some shields if you don't hit the damage when you want it, we haven't got the resources available to resolve those sides, can be really important. And of course he's got the resource side on, which is really good because of bait and switch in yellow, and I'll talk a little bit about how you can really abuse that with him. So all in all, we've got these great big, but come with a caveat die. We've got good points value, cheap. There's a very nice pairing we can make with him, and of course we've got a really healthy action health pool. So let's have a look at the special that's on him, the action that he's got, which is play an upgrade from your hand on this character, paying its cost, then you may activate him. Now where this comes into its own, it's essentially a bit of action cheating. Now where this comes into its own, of course, is if you play an ambush weapon upon him, then using this action, then he will of course activate from it, and you've still got the ambush, and so he can resolve his dice. So that is extremely powerful. We've seen it time and time again that any action cheating that we can manage to do, but has massive potential upside. If he rolls out that damage, your opponent isn't going to be able to do anything about it. He is a little similar in some ways to how Django was in the Awakenings meta, where you knew that there was going to come a point in the round where they were just going to get to roll Django and then do whatever they like with him. You kind of get the sense that unless something happens to their ambush weapon, or unless something happens to if they're playing maybe Insidious, unless something happens, they're going to get to activate Cad and resolve his damage. So that's really powerful, it's really strong. Now the reason why I think this is going to happen very, very frequently, and I'll let you know now, I've played quite a lot with Cad Bane, is there are some cards that have been printed which have ambush on them. There's 2 new pistols in the most recent set in Empire at War that turn on his ability in amazing ways. And so let's talk about those, because I think those upgrades are essential for seeing how powerful Cad Bane can be. So the 2 upgrades that we're looking at, first is the LL30, which is very specifically Cad's weapon, but they also printed the X8 Night Sniper, which I believe is Lando's gun, but has also got ambush on. Now, both of these have got ambush, so when you combine this also with the fact that we can play Holdout Blaster, that's 6 ambushing pistols that we can play onto Cad Bane and allow him to do his ability. And I think to get the most out of Cad Bane, you need to be making sure that you're getting that action going off with an ambushing weapon. It's simply too strong to pass up the opportunity on. To be able to roll and resolve, it's so powerful. It's what you need to be, I think, building every turn around, every round that he's going to activate. You need to be trying to ambush weapon and get to roll and resolve. Now, the other thing you have to take into account, of course, with that is that the 3 for 1, if you roll it, you've got to be able to pay for it. And this is where some management with your deck with Cad becomes really vital. If you play out the LL30, if you play out the Holdout Blaster or the X8 Sniper, then you're going to end up not having any resources to be able to pay for the 3 for 1 side. Now, there are a number of ways around this, and I'm going to mention a few cards that you can utilise to take advantage of being able to do an ambush weapon and still be able to pay for Cad's sides. But I feel like what I want to just touch upon first is who you're going to pair Cad with. Now, I've been racking my brains to try and find a good setup that includes Cad as a single die. And currently, with the 3 sets that we've got out, I can't really see anything that's making me really excited. Now, admittedly, he's got 12 health for 13 points. That's good, and he's got really strong die side. So I'm not saying that we can't do it. I mean, you could look at something like Cad Bane and Unkar and a First Order Stormtrooper. Now, that is sort of built into it. You know, we're looking at, well, that's a pretty good health pool. You know, we're looking at 29 health there, so that's all right. Cad has got big sides, of course, that you could use with Unkar to help. You know, if you can't afford to shoot with Cad, then at least you can use his die on Unkar's ability. There is also the fact that we're running Unkar, so we may be able to make more resources than otherwise, but often I find really to make money with Unkar it needs to be elite Unkar. And after that, there's nothing else that I'm really excited about in any way, shape or form, because where it's all at with Cad Bane is his elite version with the new 2-player Phasma. Literally scary combination. I mean, that is fear inspiring in an opponent, having those 4 character dice on the table. When we also consider that the 2-player Captain Phasma, her damage sides are 1, 2 and 2, and that 2 often turns into a 3 in the mid to late game. So to be able to pair that kind of firepower with Cad is massive. And the other thing is, of course, that well, she's got a resource side on, and she's red, so that gives us access to a couple of cards that we can take advantage of to make sure that when we do our ambush action with Cad, we're getting to resolve as many of the dice as possible. Now, first of all, one of the things you can do, of course, is you can activate Phasma first. If she rolls some damage, okay, great. If she rolls a resource, great. You can take that resource and now it's available for you when you then play out your LL30 onto Cad, and then you've got 1 resource left over to be able to pay for one of those 3-for-1s if you get it. Now another thing that you can do, because we've now got access to red, is you can play logistics. So you can activate Phasma first and then hit that die with logistics. That means with 4 resources you can be playing out your LL30 and you could resolve both of those 3-for-1 sides were you to roll them. If you play the X8 Sniper out onto Cad, that's got a 3-for-1, and so you've got the potential then for paying for the 3-for-1 on Cad and the 3-for-1 on the Night Sniper. You could roll 3 3-for-1s, which would be a little bit unfortunate. Well, I don't know about unfortunate, that'd be great, that's amazing amounts of damage. But you are starting to build up ways of being able to pay when you roll Cad in, and you have to be able to do it then. Just don't play with Cad Bane leaving his dice out. If he rolls damage, you need to get it off you need to apply it and get it off the table. So you need those resources. Other cards you could potentially play. Imperial HQ is another card that has just come out in Emperor at War, and is really good. It's simple. It's a support, a 1-cost support. You can use it to pay for the 1-cost resource side on the dice. So that's going to cover a number of dice in this build, a number of powerful. That's going to enable a number of powerful results. So that's a great little include as well. Another card I really like using is Truce. Truce allows you, it essentially says you and your opponent get 1 resource, but it's ambush. So we can play Truce, take a resource, we can, with our ambush action, play our X8 or LL30 or hold out blaster onto Cad Bane, use his activation ability, and we've still got that 1 resource to be able to resolve one of those 3-for-1s. So Truce is a really cool card, I really like it. It's very fast as well. It's a lot faster than rolling in Phasma. Oh, there's a 1. Wait, do they get rid of it? No, they don't. Okay, great. I can now take that 1. Wait again, or now I can do Cad Bane. So Truce makes it much, much faster. And claiming the battlefield with this deck is something we would like to do, most definitely. Another card that I found very, very useful when playing with Cad, and I've got Phasma, is Imperial Discipline. Imperial Discipline, which you could play out onto Phasma, is a great utility kind of upgrade here, because rarely does an opponent go for Phasma first, so that's good. Phasma then is able to much more likely generate some resources for you to use with Cad. So whether that's the die itself rolls it, or that you actually remove and use the special action on Imperial Discipline to take a resource from Phasma. It's a bit slower, but it's good. One of the things that I wanted to say that I found has been really powerful plays with this deck has been using the old bait and switch. Now, one of the ridiculous things about this deck is there's a lot of ambushing that you can do, and if you draw Truce and you draw bait and switch, you can get some really exciting stuff going on. So for instance, you could Truce, gain a resource, and then with your ambush then you can then play out an ambush weapon onto Cad Bane using his ability. You then roll that in, and let's say you roll a 3-for-1, a +2 on the LL30, and one of the resource sides on Cad's die. Then as your next ambush then, you can then of course play your bait and switch and turn that last resource side to the 2, and you can do 7 damage straight up, and that's a number of actions all linking together. In fact, that's 4 actions all linking together to be able to dish out a large wedge of damage right from the off. And I think when there's plays available to you like that, that's the kind of thing that's going to allow you to see the power of Cad Bane. And you haven't even in that instance activated and rolled in Phasma yet, and she could do another 2, 3, 4 damage on top of it. You're potentially looking at maybe even double figures damage dealt in the first round. So there are many occasions when you can almost always kill a character by the second round. even a bigger health character, you know, an 11, 12 health character. It really is very, very powerful combination. Now, in terms of how you deal with Cad Bane, well, disrupt is clearly very useful against them. If you can be disrupting their resources, stopping them having those resources available when they then activate Cad, that's really big, because not only does it stop them from being able to pay for those sides, and that's how they're going to deal the big damage, you're also giving yourself more time to be able to remove those dice, because they can't pay for them, they sit in the pool, and then you've got the chance to be removing them, mitigating them, doing whatever. So I found that to be the best way to try and deal with Cad, if you're able to. But it can be hard if they're going fast and they're claiming the battlefield. So if I'm playing in a meta where there's going to be lots of Cad Bane Phasma, and you probably will be if you're playing in a competitive style meta, then your cards that are going to be really helpful are those that just bump up the overall health of whatever character you think they're going to focus on. So cards like Force Illusion, enormous. Cards like Armor Plating, really helpful. Stuff that can temporarily bump up your character's hit points just to absorb these big Alpha Strike style damage attacks from Cad Bane will allow your characters to stay alive a little bit, and then you can use your ancient lightsabers, your rise agains, your field medics, your whatever you need to do to eke out that character's health and keep them alive a little bit longer. Because you have to realise that a character who's got 4 damage on, and you're thinking, well, he feels fairly safe when he's got 11 health, is completely at risk from Cad Bane playing at another upgrade, attacking, rolling and resolving, and character gone. And you're like, what? I had 7 health left on that character. Yeah, that's going to happen a lot if you're playing against Cad Bane and he's got access to any resources. So if you're able to get those kind of cards like Force Illusion out, that's going to make a big difference in keeping your characters alive. I would even argue that you need to mulligan for those kind of cards in the early game. Removal, pure removal itself, is less useful, because most of the time a good Cad Bane player is the dice that are going to cause the issue, they're not going to be on the table. So of course they're not going to hit with all of them unless they're being, unless they're god rolling. So there will be still a space for using your normal removal and mitigation against Cad, but just understand that if that's your only way that you're going to deal with big dice, then Cad's he's going to beat you down really, really quickly. And as the meta builds, if there's more Cad Bane Phasma in it, I think you'll see more Force Illusions and Armor Platings and similar style cards in decks. Anyway, there's Cad Bane. He's a really cool character. It's chuffing Cad Bane for a start. I mean, he's one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. He's a gun-slinging cowboy style character. So very, very cool. I think they brought him to life really well in this. I love the theme that he's ambushing, he's taking you by surprise, he's tracked you down, he's after you, and I really feel like he's going to be big in the upcoming meta. So we just have to work out ways of managing really with Cad Bane Phasma. And as I said, there are ways we can do it. But yeah, that's Cad Bane. So until next time, keep enjoying your destiny.